At this juncture, we're at the heart of our story, the story of my recent ancestors living together in Belgrade, Montana. They were a closely knit group. The future would usher in changes, new people and new locations of residence. But for now, the Smileys, Newberys, Grandmother Bierstecher, and Uncle Ed Stiefel lived in close proximity to each other and frequented each other's homes for meals and visits.
As we know, Ada got herself back to Belgrade whenever she could. And Uncle Carl checked in from time to time. In the summertime, he would bring along his family. Here is his wife, Eva, and his son, George. The bachelor, Uncle Ed, stayed involved with the lives of the kids throughout the years. Ebbs and Frances remembered spending sleepovers at his home. And on Saturday mornings, they would regularly be in the kitchen of their grandmother, dunking homemade donuts into hot coffee and cream. It was the only time they were allowed to have coffee. It should be mentioned that their cousin Doris was not allowed to participate in this weekly ritual because she was on the short side, and her parents, Mears and Dora, believed that coffee would only stunt her growth further. Grandmother Bierstecher also passed her love of music on to the kids, and both Bert and Frances became skilled on the piano that she had brought to Belgrade from the Napa Valley. By all accounts, the four kids had an idyllic childhood growing up in Belgrade. Not to say there weren't some things that gave them typical kid unease. The sanitarium on the outskirts of town was mysterious and scary, as was the Indian encampment situated along the road to Bozeman. But the event that stirred the greatest fear among Belgrade children was the arrival of traveling gypsies. Traditional lore held that gypsies kidnapped children, so whenever they appeared, doors were locked throughout the town. Frances never forgot the panic that gripped her once when she cowered behind the counters of the Belgrade Company, while gypsy women beat against the locked glass doors, spewing profanity-laced insults. But back to less exciting aspects of Belgrade life. Sophia enjoyed crochet work and regularly made garments that Bert displayed for sale at the Belgrade Company in a special case that he had built himself. As you can see, there was a lot of back and forth between their lives on an everyday basis. On weekends, Bert and Mears enjoyed fly fishing together and often arrived home with creels bulging with 25 to 40 rainbow and cutthroat trout. In 1923, Bert was elected mayor of Belgrade. He is a man who never stopped. He worked in its extensive home gardens in the evenings after long days at the store. And he raised chickens. Elma would can the produce to last through the coming winter. She also shopped from old Mr. Eaton, the butcher who lived next door. She enjoyed cooking his delicacies, and she was also an avid baker. The family's major meal of the day was served at lunchtime, while supper consisted of more modest fare at the end of the day. Every spring she administered the dreaded purge, demanding that her family ingest castor oil to cleanse their intestines of accumulated toxins. A far cry from donuts at their grandmother's. There was also a stable out back, and young Ebbs was a chip off the old block when it came to horsemanship. It's good to see that he let his horse rest now and then. Visitors were common. There's Lil Harmon again, in back of Frances. And summer visits from the extended family and friends continued on through the years. It might be wise that Bert is keeping his sister close at hand. She was a young teenager now, and actually developed her first big crush on an athletic boy named Peter Rowe. But this romance never saw the light of day. A deep appreciation and love of the great outdoors was a trait shared by all family members. The entire clan would often spend weekends driving up into the surrounding mountains. They would set up extensive picnics for everyone to enjoy. There's Dora in the front, Alma in the rear, Grandmother Bierstecher, Francis, and George Winters enjoying a sandwich. On the left, Alma, Grandmother, Francis, George Winters, and Ada standing. On the right, a smiling Doors, Eva Winters, young Dick, and his mother Dora. A lovely shot of Francis and her Aunt Ada. The clan sometimes stayed overnight in the cabins of friends. There's Uncle Ed kneeling down in the tie in the middle, relaxing by a brook.